When you were younger, did you ever know an adult who was just a no person? Maybe it was a parent or a teacher or an overconfident babysitter. Here's what I mean. It seemed like no matter what you asked for, wanted to try, or hoped would happen, the answer was always the same: no. Can I make water balloons? No. Can I play with slime? No. Can I watch that movie? No. Can I eat more candy? No. Can I stay up a little later? No. Can I set that toy on fire? No. Okay. That last no was a good call. Still, it seemed like no matter what you asked, the answer was always a big negative. But beyond ruining your plans, it seemed like, ultimately, these people were trying to keep you from having fun. It wasn't like you were asking to drive the car around the neighborhood. You were asking for stuff that was good. Okay, other than that fire thing. And it's not just that they say no. It's like they say no and it seems like they like saying no. Maybe you even know some people like that now. Maybe you know a teacher that says no when you ask to go to the bathroom. Like, why? Or they say no when you ask to go to the library or on a field trip or to a doctor's appointment that your mom already wrote a note for. No matter what you ask, no matter how safe or nice or good it is, the answer is no. And if we're being honest, for a lot of us here, this is how we view God. As a no person. He's a combination of serious, mad, worried, and disappointed. Add a huge dose of unhappy to that mix, and there you have it, God. And why do we think this? Because we've heard that God is someone who says no to parties, sex, drinking, drugs, cheating, certain movies, most movies, certain music, especially good music, making fun of people. And on top of that list, God is also against pranks, staying up late, milkshakes, selfies, cute outfits, video games, memes, funny YouTube videos, Instagram. Okay, not really, I'm exaggerating here, but we've all probably had a moment or two when we've wondered, is God just against having fun? Or maybe more specifically, does being a Christian mean I'll have no life? Growing up, my view of God was exactly that. I probably wouldn't have admitted it or said it out loud, but when I thought about God, I pictured a grouchy judge sitting up in the sky, giving people a constant thumbs down. And here's the problem. Most teenagers I know love having fun. In fact, most humans I know love having fun. But if God is a no person who's unhappy and opposed to fun, then where does that leave us? Often we're left feeling guilty for a lot of the fun things we do or want to do. Or we're feeling hopeless, like we're always going to miss out on something. If you feel that way, I get it. And whether you've decided to follow Jesus or whether the idea of a no-fun God has kept you at a distance, I'm so glad you're here today. Because I think it's possible that we've gotten it wrong when it comes to what God is really like. And we aren't the first. One of the reasons Jesus came to earth was to give us a better picture of what God is like. And when he showed up, what he taught and how he lived was different than what anyone expected. And when Jesus taught, he often used illustrations that were a part of everyday life back then. And because people were very familiar with shepherds during that time, one of those illustrations was about sheep and their shepherd. It was a concept everyone in that culture understood. They saw shepherds taking care of, protecting, and nurturing their sheep all the time. For a shepherd, it was their job to make sure their sheep were safe and in good shape. In this particular instance, Jesus refers to himself as the Good Shepherd, and we are his sheep. He takes care of us, moves us where we need to go, feeds us, and helps us rest in safety. It was a nice little word picture he had going. Then, right in the middle of this teaching, Jesus makes a huge statement. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I don't know about you, but for me, this feels like a left turn. I mean, we were just talking about sheep, and sure, back then, thieves were a problem. It was a real thing that someone might steal or hurt your sheep. But again, Jesus is talking about himself as the Good Shepherd here. How is a thief even part of the conversation? But Jesus continues, and it gets even more interesting. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come. Some translations put a period in between those two statements. Some say, but I have come. Either way, Jesus is making a point. He's showing the difference between him and a thief. This is why a thief shows up. This is why I show up. In other words, you know what a thief is like, but that is not me. And honestly, it makes sense why Jesus would say that. Because I think often we don't see Jesus as the Good Shepherd. Instead, we're tempted to see him more as the thief. We think Jesus is all about stealing our fun. We think that following Jesus will kill our happiness. We think that Jesus will destroy our personality and turn us into religious robots. Another idea we may have, that if we follow Jesus, our future will be stolen, killed, and destroyed. We'll be poor, be forced to marry someone we don't even like, and live a boring life. Maybe you have different things you worry about being stolen, killed, or destroyed, but the point is this: when it comes to Jesus, we're all tempted to think he wants to take something away from us. And that's why I think Jesus brought it up. He knew his followers would mess this up. He knew they'd think something about him that wasn't true, and he takes a moment to make sure things are crystal clear about who he is and why he came. Jesus continues, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." In other words, Jesus is saying, I didn't come to take away your life. That's what a thief does, and I'm no thief. I have come to make sure you have life, and not just any life, but in his words, he wants to give us life to the full. Jesus' goal isn't for us to have less of a life. He wants to give us more life, a better life, and a full life. And that's so different than what many of us think. Because somewhere along the way, maybe in church or with family, we got the idea that God wants to take away anything we want and anything that will make our lives good. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. Think about it this way. Who invented relationships? God did. So if you like hang out with your friends, well, that was God's idea. Who invented laughter? God literally made it up. He wired us for laughing, and the Bible actually says that a cheerful heart is good medicine. Newsflash, someone who hates fun doesn't wire you to work like that. Who invented joy? God did, of course. But did you know he's already joyful? In the Bible, it says that the joy of the Lord is your strength. It's almost as if it's saying that the more you discover how happy God is and how much joy you can have from knowing him, the stronger you are in life. Who invented enjoyment, fun, and happiness? Did you know that this is in the Bible? There is nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also, I saw, is from the hand of God. Did you get that? When you enjoy what you do, your life, your school, your work, that's from God. So, is it possible that God himself invented and created the very things that you and I tend to think he's against? Is it possible that we've gotten it all wrong? That instead of no life, God wants us to have more life? I think so. And I think that's the point Jesus is making, that he isn't just a no person who says no for the fun of it. Instead, he's a loving father who wants to say yes and wants you to say yes to the things that are best for you. Things that take care of you, things that bring you real joy, things that build an awesome future for you, things that help you develop better relationships. In other words, following Jesus doesn't make your life lesser. Following Jesus can make your life better. Maybe you hear that and you're like, great, but what about all the stuff he says no to? If he's so fun, what about all the stuff he's against? There's plenty of good stuff that gets a big fat nope when you're following Jesus. And you have a point. After all, there are plenty of you shall not statements in the Bible. I get that, but if we go back to Jesus' illustration, I think it makes some of those you shall nots make more sense. Remember, in his illustration, Jesus calls himself the Good Shepherd. And what do shepherds do? Well, one of their most important jobs is keeping the sheep from killing themselves. Maybe it feels a little offensive that we're the sheep in this story. After all, we're pretty smart people. We're not walking off cliffs. But I don't think Jesus' point was that we're dumb. I think his point was this: nobody has more power to hurt you than you. Think about it. Who has the power to say things you can't take back, do things you'll regret, make decisions that will limit your happiness, make mistakes that will destroy your future? You do. And that's not because you're bad, it's because you're human. And it's like Jesus is saying, let me help you out here. I'm going to tell you to avoid some things, not because I want you to have no life, but because I want you to have more life. Another way of saying it is this: Jesus says no to some things because he has a better yes for you. So, how do you find it? How do you find the more, better, fuller life that Jesus talks about? I think it may be simpler than we think. For some of you, I think the first step is to say yes to Jesus for the first time. Maybe you've always thought that Jesus is angry or boring, or that following him means living a miserable life. Today, I'd like you to consider this question: what if that isn't true? What if? What could you be missing out on if Jesus was telling the truth when he said he came so we could have life and life to the full? For others of us, we've already done that. We've said yes to a relationship with Jesus, but we haven't experienced the life he describes because we stopped there. And maybe for you, it's time to say yes to the things Jesus says yes to. So much of what Jesus commands us as his followers benefit us and make our life better, just as it does other people's lives. There are a million ways to experience this, but let's start with 2. What if this week you just said yes to these 2 things? First, better relationships. God invented them, and he wants them to be great. And Jesus made a big deal out of having great relationships. So what is one way you can say yes to making yours better? Is there a relationship that you need to invest in by just having fun together? Is there someone you need to forgive to get back to being friends again? Is there someone you need to encourage or cheer up? Can you imagine any of these things doing anything except making your life better? The second thing you can say yes to, serving others. Everyone who does something to help someone else feels better about themselves. Serving isn't something that a serious, no-fun God would ask us to do. It's something that makes everyone's lives better, including yours. So what is one way that you could help someone else? Volunteer to work with kids. They'll love you. Volunteer to help a middle schooler with their homework. You'll be their hero. Volunteer to work with the elderly at a senior home. They'll love you too, and it may result in baked goods. Volunteer for a mission trip, you may get to combine all these other things with a huge adventure. Can you imagine feeling less joy after doing something like this? As you head out today, I want you to think about what view of God you've held on to. Have you seen him as an unhappy God who only says no to good things? And if so, what could you be missing out on if you may have gotten him all wrong? Not only that, but here's a little secret. As you say yes to Jesus, as you experience how he can and does make your life better, it becomes easier to say yes next time. And it becomes easier to say no to things that might prevent the better, fuller, more abundant life Jesus has waiting for you.